let me list some of the things that you have done. You are a scholar, a professor of electrical and computer engineering, the founding co-director and of Center for Machine Learning and Machine Intelligence and Security at UCSD. You're the editor of, in chief of IEEE Journal of Information Theory, and you're an IEEE fellow. My goodness, hopefully we'll get to all that. Let's see, our timing is over there. Yes, thank you. We can start the timer now. And I can't see it, so okay. Maybe we can put our chairs a little bit forward so we can see it.
I'd rather not.
Can I move your chair? We have to improvise everything tonight, yeah. Plug and play is right in front of the timer, so I can see it. Now we can see it. Excellent. Where were we? Let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
Oh, I grew up in Tehran. I went to, you mean high school or all my schooling?
Well, we start from high school.
Okay, I went to high school in the middle of Tehran in the 6th Mantaqe, for those of you who grew up in Tehran. It's called Narges High School.
There's some people going to Narges High School. That's interesting. Were you a precocious child, and what sparked your initial interest in technology? Were you were there specific experiences that influenced your decision to become an engineer?
So I was very interested in math, physics, and that was sort of what we knew. And engineering seemed the practical use case for this. I'd be frank. My mother was a fairly pragmatic, feminist, and told me, what are you going to do if you, after a math degree, if after 4 years you decide you want to quit? It's much better to quit as an engineer and just sort of work than have a math degree. So that was a compromise. I will start with electrical engineering, see where it goes, and if I don't like it, I could always go back to math. Sorry, Dr. Tabesh is sitting here. So really it was before entering college, I really didn't understand that much about what engineering was about and how much I can use math. So then I entered college and I realized that I can do both. So that's where I ended up.
In your journey, coming to University of Michigan, getting a PhD, and becoming a renowned professor and a successful entrepreneur, were there specific individuals or role models that inspired you along the way? Did you have any tech heroes that you wanted to live up to?
I should say that for me, at least, it was an evolving sense of who my heroes were, depending on where I was in my own journey. When I was going through the process, I was looking at different aspects of what made someone sort of a tech hero in some sense. When I was younger, it was mostly their attributes in terms of how they could see into the future and envision things that were not possible and how they actually translated that. As I became a student, I was also very interested in the ways they impact through educating. Folks.
So who were those heroes?
So the original heroes were people I didn't know, and then the graduate school or Michigan Day heroes were faculty that I actually ended up working quite a bit with. The original heroes were folks you read about in books. So I would say, and I'm an information theorist, it's not a very unknown cliche that Claude Shannon, who took ideas that are purely mathematical and conceptual and really revolutionized the ways we think of telecommunication, was my hero. This is the farther out. And of course, as a student, graduate students, I interacted with quite a lot of top-notch researchers who were continuing that tradition, especially in the two subfields of electrical engineering. Both my own PhD advisor, for example, was a pioneer in control theory, again, similarly using mathematical modeling and conceptual thinking to really translate it into engineering practice. That was very actual. And then folks like Andrew Goldsmith, who continues to be a great collaborator and a tech leader in the sense that both impacting engineering, drawing upon these mathematical concepts.
Among your many remarkable achievements, there is your #1 ranking in concours at the year that you took it. So here we are. We honor that with a big clap. Of course, when I talked to you about it, you were very humble and said something like, what did you say? What phrase did you use? It's just a cookie that keeps you going for a little bit. What was the phrase that you used?
I said it's kind of both humbling and at the same time embarrassing that everybody refers to what I did when I was 18, even though I just turned 50. So I hope there were other things that people would go back to as much. But yeah, it's humbling, and I'm very grateful.
It's a great achievement. It's a feather in your cap. You're also an IEEE fellow, and this one you've done for your contribution to stochastic resource allocation and active hypothesis testing. I tell you, it's a huge prestige to be an IEEE fellow, because especially as a woman to become a fellow, because this organization is male-dominated, and only 10% of fellows are women. I would like to ask you, what does this mean to you, to being bestowed that recognition in a male-dominated world?
It's a very important milestone in your career when you're an electrical engineer to be nominated and be elected as IEEE fellow. So I felt very special, and especially it recognizes my work with my PhD students on a sort of a topic that really pushes the frontier in the way we think of building AI systems, and it pushes on the process of collecting data. This is this word active hypothesis testing. I'm very proud of that work that we did with my PhD students. I didn't necessarily, I mean, and being in IEEE, I'm very aware that the percentage of women is small in IEEE, but between IEEE fellow, being really happy and proud of it, and being a woman, I didn't put it together, the two together, and I don't have a very good answer to that question, but it might actually tell something about my strategy as a woman, as one of those 10%, is you try to focus on what attracts you to the field, the pleasure of creating and really pushing the boundary of innovating, and sort of sometimes you miss to notice these kind of statistics, this not very happy statistics that it's only 10% of women. You just put it in your blind side and continue to focus on the part that you really like.
It's very important. As an Iranian man who did not make IEEE, I congratulate you, and I say that we are very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Tara, tonight we have a lot of dreamers here, ready to embark on their own odyssey of company building and world changing. What pearls of wisdom would you share with your audience, with our audience, about becoming a successful technologist and entrepreneur?
I think in general for me, and this is a very personal, I'm sure very personal decision on everybody's and personal taste. For me, it's really creating an environment that I remember the reasons that I'm doing it. And for every person is a bit different. I'm fascinated on an intellectual level by this question of how we envision conceptual for my work, for example, at the level of equations, really mathematical thinking, which is an abstract way for us to model the world, and then translate that all the way to an actual system that works in the actual physical world, impacts actual life. And so for me, that process is every day fascinating. And then the process to get there, which is building a great team and work with them and have fun, fail, iterate on mistakes you made in the initial ideation and correcting for that. That's sort of the practical fun of it. So for me, it's been like really keeping these two as the core sort of coming back moment. Because you do try, you first think I can do this thing, and then you try and you fail often, and you really want to come back to it and get at it over and over. Again, it's very personal, I think, but for me, that joy of knowing that you will get there and working with people who are like-minded, they believe in you, but they at the same time challenge you with the right rate, that's been what I think it would make a really successful process, is to recognize that you're part of the team, but at the same time realize that you have room to individually contribute to that process.
And for your contributions to the world, you're an expert in adaptive signal acquisition and processing, an authority in decentralized learning using statistical reinforcement federated techniques. And recently you unleashed your inner entrepreneur founding your company, SOTER.AI. So let's talk about SOTER.AI. You want to use drones and AI to revolutionize operational management and problem solving. Your goal is to make this platform affordable and accessible to every kind of business. What motivated you to start SOTER.AI, and what ingenious strategies do you have in mind to make this happen? What does it do?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't know how many people know the word SOTER. SOTER is the god of watching and observation in Greek mythology. So our work is about really building an actuated AI system that controls and optimizes and divides the process of data collection, the observation. Different groups are interested in drones. I think for me, the initial ideas were there. It was a really good system to really imagine if I have control over the process of data collection. Playing with drones is easy. I can fly them around. I can gather different kind of information. So immediately the question becomes what kind of information I should collect. So really it was trying to, at the very initial steps, was trying to think about this platform should be a lot more powerful than the conventional, what I consider the first generation AI systems, where you're given some arbitrary data and you're trying to make sense of it. This is, you can be deliberate about the data that you're collecting. So in that sense, this is a perfect platform. But I'm an academic. I'm conservative in thinking whether what I'm talking about is at the level of just an interesting intellectual curiosity, or is it something that will solve a real problem out there? So
and is there a real problem to solve?
Yeah.
Like what are the, for instance?
Yeah, so that's where my team comes into. So I'm going to come back to these three things: concepts, the team, and then solving an actual problem. So this is where I teamed up with folks to really look at what are the critical points of technologies that we think that they really are hungry in terms of data collection. And I think anomaly detection, as well as detecting environmental monitoring, like detecting spills, detecting fugitive emission of gas. These are technologies that you basically have lots of areas to cover for very rare events. You're really literally looking for the needle in the haystack. And that's where this technology can really come help you, because you don't want to collect data this indiscriminately in these scenarios. There's just way too many land to cover. So for operational reasons, this is where this technology becomes really important.
So we're talking about a lot of drones, swarms of drones, right, typically. And then they go out there in the field of whatever, farm field or electrical grid field that we're going to talk about later. And they try to collaborate with each other, do learning, federated learning, and then come up with some sort of conclusion. What is your first go-to application that you're going to concentrate on?
Yeah, so it's environmental monitoring and anomaly detection for energy sector. So the compliance requirements for the environmental reasoning for energy sector, let's say refineries and production lines, is that they have to monitor their production lines in order to meet certain compliance targets. And that's where this technology can make a really big difference in terms of cutting costs and making that monitoring scalable.
Have you worked with drones before?
Oh, yes.
Yourself?
Absolutely.
Have you flown them?
Yes, absolutely.
And have you gotten data from them and tried to analyze those data? Okay, very good. Transitioning from academia to entrepreneurship with SOTER.AI is a significant step. It's a big change. Was this an easy transition for you? And what unique perspective from your academic background do you bring to SOTER.AI?
So the core technology is based on my research, right? But I wouldn't say, you know, I'm not the kind of person that says anything is easy. You have to do it. It was very natural for me to do it because it was the right, I mean, this is very exciting. I'm sure people agree with me. If you are a computer engineer, electrical engineer, computer scientist, this is really a fantastic time to really push for technology solutions to do things that are really impactful. So in that sense, it was very natural to do. I wouldn't say easy or hard, right? And you're learning a lot, which again, if you take the negative view, it would be hard, but if you really enjoy the learning process, I'm learning every day different skill sets that as an academic you don't need to think about.
Sounds like you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Decentralized learning, whether it's statistical or reinforced or federated, is an up-and-coming technology. It's not something that is established. What are the primary challenges and considerations when implementing decentralized learning? What are the problems? Data size, integrity of data, especially in a large-scale dynamic network. What are you anticipating?
All of the above.
All of which one are you going to go primary after?
So for us, at least in the context that we're interested in, is the fusion of, you will have different sensors, different cameras, they have different characteristics. Mm-hmm. So the real challenge is how would you actually put it together to build a cohesive, consistent, global understanding of the environment that you're trying to monitor. So that's really the core challenge of doing.
Where do you think the first challenge is going to be among all these many? Is it going to be data integrity? Is it going to be a device sanity? You must have something in mind to go after first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first is to be able to come up with a cohesive picture of devices that are not the same. Right? Okay. And so you have to solve both of those, and you have to make sure the data that you're collecting is not garbage, otherwise garbage will be out. So the two will be indistinguishable from our perspective in terms of integrity of the larger data set that you're curating. And so.
Okay, let me switch channel and ask a question about being a woman and a trailblazer in a male-dominated field. What advice would you give to women aspiring to make their mark in the technology, and any memorable moments and stories that you like to share about this kind of interaction that you may have had in your life? A woman in a male-dominated technology world.
How much time do I have? Okay. It's a really interesting question. I'm going to take a minute to just, because I feel like the way gender has intersected with my academic career, with my technology career, has evolved quite a bit. And it has changed with where I was, both in terms of learning as a student, but also where I am now. Mm-hmm. And I want to especially say this because I think it would be useful for the younger folks in the audience, that I feel like my student life was sort of very cut short. It was high school. I was in an all-girls school, like many others in the audience. So in an all-girls school, some girl is good at math and physics. Gender does not come into picture to think about that you are that somebody. Grew up in a family that was very, very encouraging of pursuing that. Went to Sharif 30 years prior to Zan Zendegi Azadi. Suddenly gender was very important in ways that I could not fathom. And that gave me a sort of a sense of low, which I pushed and I got out. In grad school and earlier career in my academic life, I sort of took that resolve from surviving that, okay, I can be expected to, you know, think of my gender even though I'm in a class in electrical engineering, and turn that into building a network of team players. My friends originally, both from Sharif and my graduate school days, but also my mentors and role models, I really appreciated the way they actually gave me the environment to really push through that sort of low. And so that resolve and the resources that these two contrasting scenarios gave me really was what allowed me to really push through. By the time I was a professor, I was one of the two. In 2005, I joined UCSD. I was the second woman in the department, and I continued to be the second woman for another 11 years. So it was, I was noticing it, but I felt like there's nothing I cannot take on if I have that network of and resource that my friends and mentors and collaborators brought to me, and the resolve that I got that I can really survive this. So in that sense, I would, again, really recommend for folks to go back to why they're doing this, the joy of it, and really building a good team. We were talking with a few of other people at the pizza chat, and that's what we were talking about, really this appreciation for the team and where they can really get you.
Thank you very much, Tara, for joining us tonight. We have time for a couple of questions, if there are some burning questions, and Arash has some question over there. Can you get a mic? Can he get a mic? I mean, yes, over here.
Hi, my name is Arash, and I'm so fascinated by your background and what you're doing now. So my question is about the morality and the ethics in terms of the gathering the information by drones. You know, the drones is some of the new innovations which is not being regulated clearly. There are a lot of gray areas. There are countries using drones against the humanities, and there are countries using, or people using drones for the use of humans. So how it impacts in your own business model, in your own data collecting, in the smartness of your algorithm to consider the ethics and the morality.
Thank you, Aisha.
Sure.
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, I think the question you're raising arises in engineering in general. We work with technologies that have a very diverse set of use cases. And again, it's really a choice of the developers or the company. And again, this is the importance of having like-minded people on your team to decide on those ethical questions. For us, we focused on energy sector exactly because we really believed in, we really can make an impact on the environmental effect of these technologies. And you're right that there might be other business models around this, but our interest was really around sustainability. Can we really make an impact and use this technology to really address this pain point for compliance of the companies not being able to stop a leakage early enough? So you would just hear that there's leakage and there days go by where they don't know the source of that leakage. So for us, this was definitely a part of that choice of what we focused on as where do we use the technology for. But thank you for your question. I think it arises in all sorts of applications.
I think that's all the time that we have for the questions. Thank you very much. I take this. Thank you. Why don't you use this?